mean, our goal right now is to get to zero interventions in point-to-point drives in cities.
Yeah.
So the polish is less important than solving for zero intervention point-to-point drives in cities. The sheer amount of work required to do this boggles the mind.
Yeah.
And to the best of my knowledge, I asked the team, like, do we know of anyone who is even trying to follow in our footsteps? We don't know of anyone. Maybe there is someone, but I've seen a lot of tough technology problems, and solving real-world AI such that a car can drive itself is one of the hardest problems I've ever seen. And it is way harder than I originally thought, by far. So
what would you say to the people that have said, for several years, you've said it'll be this year, it'll be next year? What would you say to those people?
it'll be this year.
Perfect.
We got it.
I think it's still tracking for this year.
But as far as the, I'm going more for like the.
Why was I
you-
overly
you-
optimistic in the past? I did not understand the scope of the problem.
And you feel you do now?
Yeah. I mean it's very easy to get close to it working, and where it feels like it's just, all right there, just a little further, and it's like the donkey with the carrot over your head, and it's like, oh, that's right, just keep, just pull the cart a bit further and faster. If you pull this cart faster, maybe that carrot's going to come closer. So frankly, having radar and ultrasonics was a mistake, radar especially, because radar it allows you to get close to solving it and solve it most of the time, except when you can't lock the radar and the visual neural net. Like radar and vision disagree which one is right. Mm-hmm. And so you basically have to get rid of the radar. And once we got rid of the radar, which by the way was initially strongly opposed by the autopilot team, and now nobody wants the radar back. Is that right? Yeah. I had to lay down the law and say, like, that radar's coming out, man.
Yeah.
You can't. That radar is a crutch, and if you're carrying that crutch, you can't run. So, radar would the signal, the radar was contributing more noise than signal at the end of the day. So it's not that it wasn't contributing signal, but it was more noise than signal, and so that's it had to be removed. And once radar was removed, then it became clear that actually our neural nets are much worse than we think they are. So they were being helped by radar too much. So now just having to use vision. You can't hide behind anything. The vision has to work. The neural net vision has to work. And then there was quite a profound change to go from bag of points neural net to having a neural net interpret that bag of points to figure out what a lane center is. Because previously we were doing that all in C. So, I mean, the neural net architecture is insanely complicated at this point. It's like, that's a lot of layers. And then it'll turn out, oh, actually we need to delete this layer, put this layer on. And like, we've re-architected the neural net so many times. I think the team does not lack for motivation level or work ethic. They work super hard, and the Tesla Autopilot sort of software AI team is like the best software team I've ever worked with. I'm a harsh judge of technical skill, and they are outstanding. It took a while for us to get there. We had a lot of false starts with the Autopilot team. And there's like, in Silicon Valley, there's like, I don't know, like 12 people who say they're responsible for Autopilot, but they're not. At the end of the day, like the streets were designed for eyes and biological neural nets. That's what the entire road system was designed for. So therefore, it makes perfect sense, frankly, that cameras and digital neural nets are required to solve self-driving. You basically have to repeat what the humans do,
Okay.
but in silicon. And nothing else will actually solve it. So, I mean, Tesla's actually, going to be in a situation where Tesla has a self-driving solution and no one else is even close, not even for 5 years.
Licensing?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. We're not going to stop people from doing it. But they will, it will need to slap them in the face, like, baff, baff. Not like, hey, we think, like, it has to be taking sales away from them.
Oh, it'll take sales away from Uber, it'll take sales away
Yeah.
from everything.
So, I mean, anyone who has the that you guys have the beta, you've seen the trajectory of improvement.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
very clearly going to achieve full self-driving.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just a question of there's some debate about when.
When, yeah.
But if you say, like, what is the rate of improvement per unit time,
Yeah.
you can say this is clearly going to get to a point where it's much safer than
Yep.
human. So the thing that's like sort of hard to appreciate from sort of outside the company is that we'll re-architect the neural net, like, for the 1,000th time, I mean, man, that's like the things that I like that take up the most amount of brain space for me are working on self-driving and getting Starship to orbit. Those are the two things that take up, like, I don't know, 70% of my brain space, like something like that. Those two things, and then there's other things that just don't require as much sort of brain CPU cycles, but like a lot of chores basically. If I don't do my chores, then shit hits the fan basically. I hate doing chores. There's still we still don't have a unified vector space where all of the neural nets pour their output into a single agreed upon vector space for both fixed and moving objects. So
That's huge.
yes,
do that.
that's quite important because, like, if they disagree, like, if the moving objects neural net, like, currently they're really still fairly separate. The moving objects network and the static objects network, if they disagree on the position of a car, then like you could say, well, this car is in a non-drive space position because of a disagreement between the neural nets, and then if they're not running at the same frame rate, you can get a time error as well. And if cars are, moving at, I don't know, 30 meters per second or something, then and you have like a sort of 34 millisecond error. Okay, like that car's now moved a lot, so it's moved a meter, so and a meter is a lot. Like if we're not colliding with something.
Speed, it's a ton.
Yeah, it can be like, is this car, like, you're driving along, and let's say there's cars going in on opposite directions. If that car coming towards you is offset by a meter, that could be the difference between colliding or not. So and so there could even be like a slight time lag error, between one neural net and the next, and you can have an issue. So it's now at the limit, as these neural nets get very good, they will be much better than a human. So it'll be able to drive better than James Bond could possibly drive. Fortunately, the threshold for succeeding is just being better than a human, and humans have really a lot of latency in general. so this it's like not actually all that high of a bar when you realize it. It's sort of like you think of like elevator operators back in the day, and yeah, you can be an expert elevator operator, but you got to flip that relay and get the elevator and the floor to line up exactly. It's like you're not going to succeed nearly as much as the computer. So now anymore, if you did have an elevator operator with a big relay switch, you'd think that's pretty backwards, and you'd really prefer to have a button. That's how it will be with autopilot.
That's a good analogy.
Yes, like normal human drivers will be like an elevator operator.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
And the precision of autopilot will be insane.